Against all odds, the defiant Hope touched down in a hidden valley far from hegemony industrial sites, its hull scarred by the corrosive atmosphere of dying Corollia Prime. Sarah Chen stepped onto the alien soil and immediately understood why the Corollians were desperate. The very air seemed to burn, and the once magnificent crystal formations around them were crumbling like ancient glass. High Crystal Arch, Zevon met them at the landing site, accompanied by a small group of surviving Corallian elders. Their crystalline bodies, which should have sparkled with internal light, were clouded and fractured. The sight of their deterioration filled Sarah with renewed determination. Ambassador Chen, Zevon's harmonic voice carried notes of fading. Hope, you came, despite the risks to your own people. This act of courage will be remembered in our crystal archives, should any survive to tell the tale. Dr. Vasquez immediately began taking atmospheric readings while Lieutenant Park secured the perimeter. Captain Torres remained with his ship, monitoring Federation and hegemony communications channels. High Crystal Arch, we need to understand exactly what's happening to your people, Sarah said, activating her portable translation matrix. Dr. Vasquez is our leading xenobiologist. She may be able to identify the source of the contamination. Alina knelt beside a dying crystal formation, carefully collecting samples. The molecular structure has been fundamentally altered, she reported. This isn't natural decay. Someone has introduced a catalyst that disrupts the harmonic bonds holding your crystal matrices together. Zevon's form dimmed further. Our young can no longer achieve proper crystallization. They remain in their fluid larval state until they simply dissolve. Our elders shatter spontaneously when the bonds holding their ancient matrices fail. We have perhaps 50 more days before the last Corallian dies. James Park returned from his reconnaissance, his expression grim. Ambassador, I've identified 3 major hegemony installations within 50 kilometers. They're heavily defended. But I noticed something interesting. The atmospheric poisoning seems strongest near their primary mining facility. Sarah studied the tactical displays James had compiled. That can't be coincidence. Dr. Vasquez, what would happen if we could get you access to their industrial processes? Alina looked up from her sample analysis. If I can identify the exact compound they're using, I might be able to synthesize a neutralizing agent. But we'd need access to their laboratories and production facilities. High Crystal Arts Zevon resonated with harmonics of concern. The hegemony guards their installations jealously. Many of our scouts have attempted infiltration. None returned. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities. A direct assault was impossible against hegemony's superior firepower. Diplomatic channels were blocked by corporate lawyers and Federation. Bureaucracy, there left only one option: stealth infiltration using human ingenuity and desperation. James, how many security personnel are we looking at? She asked. The young lieutenant consulted his scanner data. Approximately 200 armed guards across all 3 facilities, plus automated defenses. But their security is designed to stop large assault forces, not small infiltration teams. Captain Torres's voice crackled through their communication. System, folks. We've got incoming Federation patrol ships. 3 cruisers just dropped out of hyperspace and they're scanning for unauthorized vessels. Sarah cursed under her breath. The Federation had finally noticed their unsanctioned mission. They had hours at most before official forces would attempt to arrest them and shut down the operation. Change of plans, she announced. We go in now, before the Federation can stop us. Dr. Vasquez, you and I will infiltrate the main hegemony facility. James, You'll create a diversion at their secondary installation to draw off security forces. Captain Torres will maintain our extraction route. Zevon stepped forward, his crystalline form brightening with resolve. Ambassador, permit me to accompany your mission. My people know secret pathways through the crystal caverns. We can guide you to the hegemony facility undetected. The plan was desperate and dangerous, but it was their only chance. Sarah's team split up, with James moving toward the secondary facility while she, Alina, and Zevon approached the main industrial complex through a network of natural crystal tunnels. The underground passages were a maze of glittering formations, many now blackened by atmospheric contamination. Zevon moved through them with fluid grace despite his deteriorating condition, his harmonic navigation system guiding them through the darkness. The hegemony believes they understand our world, he explained as they crawled through a narrow crystal passage. But these caverns were formed over millions of years by our ancestors. No surface dweller has ever mapped their full extent. They emerged near the heavily fortified hegemony facility, a sprawling complex of industrial buildings and mining equipment. The sight that greeted them was horrifying. Massive processors were deliberately releasing toxic compounds into the atmosphere while extracting valuable minerals from the dying crystal forests. Dr. Vasquez took readings from her concealed position. It's even worse than I thought. They're not just mining the crystals, they're using a chemical process that breaks down the harmonic bonds. The toxic byproducts are exactly what's killing the Corallian people. Sarah felt rage building in her chest. This wasn't accidental contamination or industrial negligence. The hegemony was committing genocide to maximize their mining efficiency. Can you develop a neutralizing agent? She asked Alina, the xenobiologist. Studied her scanner readings. I need access to their laboratory computers. If I can download their chemical formulas, I can synthesize a compound that will restore the atmospheric balance. Lieutenant Park's voice came through their communication. System diversion is active. I've set off explosions at the secondary facility. Security forces are responding, but you've only got a narrow window. Sarah and her team moved swiftly toward the main laboratory building. Zevon used his crystalline abilities to resonate with security sensors, creating harmonic interference that masked their approach. Alina worked frantically to hack into the hegemony computer systems while Sarah kept watch. Got it, Alina whispered triumphantly. I'm downloading their complete chemical database. Give me 10 more minutes and I'll have everything we need. But their luck ran out. Hegemony security forces had realized the diversion was a feint and were converging on the main facility. Alarms began blaring as searchlights swept the complex. We're blown, Sarah announced. Alina, how much more time do you need? Almost finished. Just a few more files, ... Laser fire erupted around them as hegemony guards spotted their position. Sarah returned fire with her sidearm, while Zevon used his crystalline body to deflect incoming shots, the energy dissipating harmlessly through his mineral structure. Download complete, Alina shouted, disconnecting her equipment. I have the formula for both the poison and its antidote. Captain Torres's voice crackled urgently through their communicators. Federation forces are moving in fast. We need extraction. Now, the team fought their way back through the crystal caverns, pursued by hegemony security forces. Zevon's knowledge of the underground passages kept them ahead of their pursuers, but the high crystal arch was weakening rapidly from the exertion. They emerged at the landing site to find the Defiant Hope under attack by both Federation and hegemony forces. Captain Torres had the ship's weapons powered up and was holding off the assault, but his shields were failing. Alina, how long to synthesize the antidote? Sarah asked as they ran toward the ship. If I can get to a proper laboratory, maybe 6 hours. But we need massive quantities to treat the entire atmosphere. Lieutenant Park joined them, his uniform torn and his equipment damaged. The secondary facility is destroyed, but hegemony will rebuild within days. We need a permanent solution. As they reached the Defiant Hope, Sarah made a decision that would define the rest of her career. Instead of fleeing to safety, she activated the ship's general broadcast system and transmitted Elena's findings to every news network, scientific institution, and government agency in the galaxy. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen of the Human Diplomatic Corps, she announced. I am releasing evidence of systematic genocide being committed by the Hegemony Corporation against the Corollian people. The attached data contains complete chemical formulas for both the atmospheric poison and its antidote. The transmission went out across hyperspace networks, carrying the truth to billions of beings throughout the galaxy. Within hours, the evidence would be in the hands of scientists, journalists, and politicians across hundreds of worlds. High Crystal Arch, Zevon's crystalline form pulsed with renewed brightness. Ambassador Chen, you have given my people hope when all seemed lost. Whatever the cost to yourself, the Corollian species will remember this sacrifice as Federation. Forces boarded the Defiant Hope to arrest Sarah's team. She felt no regret. They had exposed the truth and provided the means to save an entire species. Sometimes the greatest diplomatic victories required abandoning diplomacy altogether. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk. The desperate Plath holographic display flickered with urgent red warnings as Ambassador Sarah Chen stared at the devastating images streaming from Carolia. Prime, vast crystal forests that had once sparkled like diamonds across the alien worlds. Surface now lay withered and black, their luminescent cores dimmed forever. The sight made her stomach turn. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes and leaned back in her chair at the human embassy on Nexus Station. 3 days of non-stop diplomatic meetings had left her drained, but this emergency transmission from the Corallian homeworld demanded immediate attention. The crystalline beings were dying, and their desperate plea for help had somehow bypassed all official Galactic Federation channels to reach her directly. The transmission crackled with interference as the image of High Crystal Arch Zevon appeared. The Corollian leader's normally brilliant sapphire form had dulled to a sickly grey, hairline cracks spiderwebbing across his translucent skin. His voice resonated with harmonic frequencies that the universal translator struggled to process. Ambassador Chen Zevon's words carried undertones of desperation that transcended species barriers. My people face extinction within solar cycles. Our crystal forests die, our young cannot form proper matrices, and our elders shatter from within. The Federation promises aid, but sends only committees and investigators. We need action now, or the Corallian species will be nothing more than a footnote in galactic history. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. She had seen too many worlds ignored by Federation bureaucracy, too many species pushed to the brink while politicians debated jurisdiction and procedure. The Federation's slow response to the Corallian crisis was typical of their bloated, inefficient system. What can you tell me about the cause? She asked, leaning forward. Zevon's crystalline features shifted with what might have been anger. Our scientists believe the atmospheric corruption began approximately 2 standard years ago. Trace elements in our air have been altered, creating a chain reaction that poisons our crystal biology. But every investigation team sent by the Federation has been denied access to key industrial sites by the Hegemony Corporation. The Hegemony Corporation? Sarah's jaw tightened at the name. The massive industrial conglomerate had their fingers in mining operations across dozens of systems, often with little regard for environmental impact. Their legal teams were legendary for finding loopholes in Federation law, and their political influence ran deep. High Crystal Arch, I need you to understand that what I'm about to propose will be dangerous for both our species, Sarah said carefully. If I act outside official channels, it could destroy human Federation relations. But if your people are truly facing extinction, then some risks are worth taking. The Corallian leader's form brightened slightly. Ambassador, my species has survived for millennia by adapting to impossible conditions. We will not let fear of political consequences stop us from preserving our children's future. Sarah stood and walked to the window overlooking Nexus Station's sprawling docks. Hundreds of ships from across the galaxy moved in carefully orchestrated patterns, representing the pinnacle of interspecies cooperation. Yet somewhere in that vast bureaucracy, the Corallian people were being abandoned to die. She activated her secure communication system and sent out coded messages to 3 individuals. If she was going to save an entire species, she would need allies who valued action over protocol. The first to respond was Captain Marcus Torres of the Independent. Freighter Defiant Hope. The grizzled spacer had served in the human colonial navy before becoming a civilian contractor. His ship might not look like much, but it could outrun most Federation vessels and had hidden compartments perfect for smuggling emergency supplies. Next came Dr. Alina Vasquez, the brilliant xenobiologist who had been quietly blacklisted from Federation research projects after criticizing their slow response to environmental crises. Her expertise in alien biology could be crucial to understanding the Corallian condition. The final member of her impromptu team was Lieutenant James Park, a young diplomatic security officer whose idealism hadn't yet been crushed by years of political compromise. His tactical skills and unwavering sense of justice would be essential for what lay ahead. Within hours, the team assembled in a secure briefing room aboard the Defiant Hope. Sarah spread holographic displays across the table, showing the deteriorating conditions on Corallia Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at the complete extinction of a sentient species, she began. The Federation response has been woefully inadequate, hampered by corporate interference and bureaucratic delays. I'm proposing we take matters into our own hands. Captain Torres leaned back in his chair, his weathered face skeptical. Ambassador, I've run plenty of off-the-books operations, but this sounds like career suicide. What makes you think for humans can succeed where the entire Federation has failed? Dr. Vasquez studied the biological data streaming from Corallia Prime. Actually, Marcus, the Federation hasn't failed because they lack capability. They've failed because they're not trying. Look at these atmospheric readings. The contamination pattern is too precise to be accidental. Someone is deliberately poisoning the Corallian atmosphere. Lieutenant Park's young face hardened with determination. If that's true, then we're not just talking about environmental disaster, we're talking about genocide. Sarah nodded grimly. Which is why we can't wait for official approval. Every day we delay, more Corallians die. I'm asking each of you to volunteer for a mission that could end your careers and possibly your lives. But if we succeed, we'll save an entire civilization. The silence stretched for long moments before Captain Torres cracked a grin. Hell, Ambassador, when you put it like that, how can we say no? The Defiant Hope is at your service. Dr. Vasquez was already downloading the biological data. I'll need access to Corellian medical records and environmental samples. If we can identify the exact mechanism of the poisoning, we might be able to develop a treatment. Lieutenant Park stood at attention. Ma'am, if we're going in unauthorized, we'll need to assume hostile forces are involved. I recommend we prepare for the worst-case scenario. Sarah felt a mix of pride and terror at her team's immediate commitment. Then it settled. We leave for Corellia Prime within the hour. Captain, can your ship make the journey without using official hyperspace lanes? Torres was already plotting courses on his navigation system. I know some smuggler routes that'll get us there undetected. Won't be comfortable, but will arrive with our cover intact. As the Defiant Hope prepared for departure, Sarah sent one final message to High Crystal Arch. Zevon. The encrypted transmission contained their arrival schedule and a simple promise. Help is coming. The journey to Corellia Prime took 3 days, through dangerous, unmonitored space. During the trip, Dr. Vasquez analyzed every piece of available data about Corellian biology. The crystalline beings were unlike any other known species, their bodies composed of living mineral matrices that could store energy and information, like organic computers. It's fascinating, she explained to the team during a briefing. Corellian physiology is essentially a biological crystal lattice. They can communicate through harmonic resonance, share memories through direct crystal contact, and their reproduction involves creating new matrix patterns from parental templates. But this also makes them incredibly vulnerable to chemical disruption. Lieutenant Park had been studying tactical assessments of Hegemony Corporation's security forces. If they're behind this, they won't go down without a fight. Their private army rivals some planetary defense forces. Captain Torres guided his ship through a dangerous asteroid field to avoid detection. Whatever we're facing down there, we'll need to move fast. Once Hegemony knows we're onto them, they'll throw everything they have at us. When Corellia Prime finally appeared on their view screen, the team fell silent. The planet's surface, once described as a glittering jewel visible from orbit, now appeared mottled and dark. Vast areas of crystal forest had withered to black husks, and the atmosphere itself seemed tinted with an unhealthy yellow-green hue. My God, Dr. Vasquez whispered. It's worse than the reports indicated. The entire ecosystem is collapsing. Sarah steeled herself for what lay ahead. Then we don't have a moment to lose. Take us down, Captain. It's time to save a species.